President Biden is taking a victory lap on that cooling inflation. He says the latest data from June is Bidenomics in action. Wow. Kevin O'Leary joins us now. Great to see you, Kevin. What do you think of Mr. Biden's victory lap? Is it deserved or not?
You know, you think about the challenge from a 30,000-foot view, and, you know, whether you call it Bidenomics or just policy. What's going on here is the Fed is continuing to tighten because even after all this great news, I predict another 25 basis points this month and maybe another 25 in September. And the reason that is happening is it's a stubborn core number of inflation. Now, we have the CPI, which has a lot of housing data, up to 40%, and housing is rolling over because nobody wants to sell their house with a 4% mortgage and go to 7.5%. That's an obvious outcome. But the core inflation of goods and services, and including labor, is doggingly slow to go down to 2.5%. So the Fed stayed on that mandate. But here's really why you wonder about this. Bidenomics is pouring like a fire hose cash into the S&P 500 because at the end of the day, no matter how you look at these bills, anti-inflation bill, chip bill, whatever you want to call it, infrastructure bill, the majority of the money goes to S&P 500 behemoths. And that's okay. They're 40% of the economy. But who's really getting screwed in this equation, which you haven't even heard from yet, are small businesses in America, which represent over 60%. Their access to capital by the day is drying up. And I've been running around the Hill this week, pounding on every door of every lawmaker I can, saying, this Bidenomics is great for an S&P 500 company, but there's no Bidenomics for the rest of America. And that's where the problem lies.
Very interesting point. Yeah, and you mentioned labor costs. I still think those are pushing, certainly they're hurting the margins, but they're also being passed on to consumers. So that's part of that sticky inflation. But I want to move on to this, Kevin. Binance founder, CZ, he's been trying to downplay those multiple executive departures from the crypto exchange. He says it's due to personal reasons, changes to the crypto environment. You know, do you buy that, Kevin, or is there something else at play here?
No, this is a classic rats running off the ship. There's nothing else, no other way to describe it. Remember, what you're seeing play out here, and you just don't know the timing of it, this is FTX Part 2, because what took FTX down was this CZ himself. He was able to manipulate the token of the exchange, the FTT token, jam $520 million on the week of November 6th last year onto the exchange when it didn't have enough cash, and bankrupted it and took out his largest competitor, leaving Binance the largest unregulated exchange in the world. Now, that victory was short-lived because the regulators are going after him all around the world. But here's his problem. He's got $60 billion of a token called BNB. Now, I consider that worthless. It has no value. But if you want to turn it into $60 billion of fiat currency, let's say the US dollar, you're going to watch the whole thing unravel the same way FTX died. Bankruptcy. Now, is someone else backing him? Does he have $60 billion? Who knows? The whole thing's totally transparent. But what I like about what's happening here, and the regulators are squeezing his head like a teenage pimple, and that's good, because we've got to get rid of all these cowboys. If we want to see crypto take its rightful place in financial services, you got to get rid of these guys, and he's one of them.
And thank you for that image, Kevin. I have more questions on this, but we're going to move on.